So as you might have guessed, it is Brut Day, and we're going to do Splash of Brut IPA, which is a recipe packed from the malt miller. Brut IPA is a style of beer which originates from San Francisco. It's named Brut IPA because the dryness and the style of beer reminds people of the champagne, Brut Champagne that you get. Simple as that. The malt miller recipe packs are very good, and they also, where they have a slight advantage over the Getter Brewed ones, is that they tell you what's actually in the beer, so that it's not a big secret about what the recipe is. So this one's very straightforward. Simpson's malt, extra pale malt, 4,000 grams, 4 kilos for simple people like myself. 1,500 grams, 1.5 kilos of crisp flaked maize or flaked corn if you're British. And then just 2 simple hop additions. The secret to the Brut style then is Amyloglucosidase, which is an enzyme which breaks the sugars down into smaller molecules, which means the yeast can feast on them better or more or something. But it brings the OG, no, it doesn't touch the OG, brings the FG right down. So you want to make everything, so basically to make the beer dry, you want your final gravity to be as low as possible, and I mean as low as possible. We're looking for 1.000, we're looking for water basically. So you want everything, to do everything you can to make it high fermentable, so that includes your mash. Mash temperature 65 degrees for 60 minutes. Mash out then for 75 degrees for 10 minutes. As I say, it's just a simple 2 hop additions. They're saying to do a Whirlpool hop stand, 40 grams of Nelson Sauvin. I'm going to do that as a 20-minute hop drop instead. And then on dry hop day 7, 60 grams of Nelson Sauvin. Let's see how it goes, eh? As you can see, I have added the maize first. This would turn out later to be a mistake, causing a stuck sparge. If I were to do this again, I would add a quantity of rice hulls to help with the sparge and mash recirculation. I mashed for 60 minutes at 65 degrees C. So I plugged all those values into Brewfather as I normally do, and then I decided I was going to do a water chemistry addition. So basically the water profile I've gone for is Pilsen Light Lager. I think it's quite similar. You want thin body, you want it crisp, you want it dry. So I think it is quite similar. So what Brewfather has told me to add is 0.1 grams calcium chloride, 0.2 grams Epsom salt, 0.3 grams gypsum. I'm also obviously going to be adding a Protafloc tablet with 15 minutes left of the boil. Malt Miller give me a sachet of West Coast Ale yeast. I don't know what it is, it's their own brand, but I've put it in as Mango Jack M44. It's the most similar one, US West Coast yeast. It gives 85% attenuation. And that's what you want it to attenuate really well, so I assume that this malt miller pack will have the highest attenuating yeast that they can. Very simple, 23 and a bit litres mash water, 8 litres sparging, 60-minute mash, 60-minute boil. Then we want to really ramp up the had a bit of a stroke there. We want to really ramp up the carbonation. I've done a wee bit of reading on around this, and they reckon between 3.5 and 4 volumes of CO2, so it's going to be fizzy as bollocks. But then again, that adds to the sort of champagne feel of the beer. So in order to do that at 5 degrees centigrade Celsius, you're looking to set your kegerator at 20 psi roughly. Eat. I then set the Brutzilla to 75 degrees centigrade for a 10-minute mash out. With 20 minutes left, I added 40 grams of Nelson Sauvin, the immersion chiller, and a protofloc top-up. So that's the end of the brew day. All it remains to do is pitch the yeast and one other thing. So it's just the Malt Miller West Coast yeast, just their own brand. Sprinkle that on. Not so much sprinkle as dump it on. And then the next thing is this, which is our Amyloglucosidase. This is the enzyme which breaks down the sugar to make it finish out drier than it normally would. It's all that remains. Because this beer, when it's finished, is going to have a really high carbonation. We're talking maybe 3.5 volumes of CO2, which is about 30 PSI on my system. I'm going to set the pressure spunding valve to more or less 10, between 10 and 15, just to get a bit of a head start in the carbonation. That's the Brut done. Excellent. So here we are, we're at the tasting part. You've been through the grain and now we're at the glass. I bottled this off the keg a wee while back, so hopefully it's still carbed up. It's quite hard to bottle when you're carbonating something at 30 psi for a while, so massive restriction, you know, the 5/16 or whatever it is, the really small tubing. I wanted one of those fancy sort of beer glasses that's on a stem. I don't have one, but I do have a wine glass, so bit of fun. So here we go. See quite a lot of carbonation, bit of gun smoke. The glass is already hazy, that's just condensation. But here we go. Well, I'm happy with that. Look at that. That's obviously well carbonated beer. You can see the bubbles coming up. You can see the glass is slightly dirty as well. A thick frothy head. When you look at it from above, tiny bubbles on the side. You'll not see because of the whiteout, but there are larger bubbles there. On appearance, I would probably want it to be slightly more clear, although it looks very clear in the camera. It looks clearer in the camera than it does with the eye, which is unusual. But it's a lovely straw colour. And you can see the carbonation streaming up the glass. On the nose, gooseberry straight off the bat. Gooseberry. There's actually a slight hint of like fromage, like French cheese sort of whiff, which is probably a bit of an off. But it's not a pleasant smell, but it's not unpleasant. So like I'm trying to think back to my wine tasting days, and whether cheese was something you would get, because Nelson Sauvin and Sauvignon Blanc, they're meant to be sort of similar, or Nelson Sauvin is meant to be sort of indicative. That's not even the right word. But the main thing I'm getting there is gooseberry. There's like a nice freshness to it as well. So although you've got that sort of cheesy background, the gooseberry's the front and center, and it's right there in your face. I'm not really getting anything else. There's like a greenness to that, like a cacti kind of thing going on. Aloe vera, eucalyptus, that, you know, that sort of minty kind of thing. So on appearance, probably I would like it to be slightly clearer than what it is. As you can see, the head's dissipated quite quickly, but the carbonation level is fantastic. The colour is lovely. I would probably give that a 4 out of 5 for appearance. I'm not sure, maybe it's slightly more active in the glass. So 4 out of 5 so far. On the nose, it's going to lose a mark for that sort of fromagey smell. It is kind of, the more you go into it, the sort of less appealing it is. But as I say, the gooseberries there, that sort of minty, cactusy kind of thing is going on, and that's quite nice. But it does lose for the cheesy smell. There's no lactose or anything in this, so I don't know where it's picked that up from. Whether it is just something that Nelson Sauvin maybe does have. maybe I'm misdiagnosing, that's not the right word, misenunciating it, I don't know. Yeah, 3 out of 5, so what's that, 7 out of 10. Mouthfeel. Mouthfeel's perfect, absolutely perfect. It's thin bodied, which you want. It's a high level of carbonation in your mouth, like it's an absolute party on your tongue. It's like popping candy, you know that stuff that used to crackle in your mouth. Um, it's dry, obviously. It's a Brut IPA. It's dry. It's what you want. There's a nice juiciness to it that dries away very quickly. Um, in terms of what I'm looking for from this beer, this is a 5 out of 5 for mouthfeel. Definitely. Yeah. If anything, if I'm being super hypercritical, I'd probably even ramp the carbonation up a little bit more. And I've left it on the keg actually at the higher PSI, so it will continue to carb up. So what have we got? 435, 459, 312, 12 out of 15. We're going good here. But now the most important bit, does it taste nice? I'll top up and that might give you a clue as to where I'm going with this one. I just love it. I would like it to be a wee bit clearer, and it probably will clear out in the keg, and it's maybe just a little bit chill hazed as well. Anyway, taste. It's quite indescript, and I don't mean that in a bad way. If you go back to my tasting video from one of the big banana beers, this one, Nelson Sauvin Pills, I thought that the gooseberry levels were too high and there was like a citrusy thing going on that really sort of put it in your face, and it was a wee bit off-putting for me. This is only Nelson Sauvin in this, and it has none of that. It's just a good level. I am getting like a dry and finish. I am getting the gooseberry. I am getting the like sharp bitterness to it. It does remind me of wine and of fizzy wine, and that's kind of what I was hoping for with this. Sauvignon Blanc obviously is a very dry wine, generally speaking. I've never really had a fizzy Sauvignon Blanc, and a champagne, whatever. But yeah, I really like it. It is a really nice beer. It's a really good kit, but sorry, score then. What would I want better from it? In a really bizarre way, I actually wanted to have a wee bit more, like a little bit more of the gooseberry, a little bit somewhere sort of bananas, pilsners up here. This Brut IPA is here in terms of gooseberries. Somewhere in the middle is where I want to be. But it is an incredibly tasting beer, and I definitely want more. It's just so clean and so crisp tasting. It's not that well aged. Like, it probably needs another week in the keg, but I'm just so impatient. It's already quite crisp. I might leave that. I'm away for a week here actually, so it's going to at least get that extra week. But it's so nice. It's a beer style that has gone out of vogue recently. I think it was a flash in the pan kind of thing a couple of years back. Brut IPAs were all the rage for 5 minutes, and now they're not anymore, and that's fine. But I really like it. I'll probably make that again, or make a version of it again. I have obviously tasted samples of it out of the keg as I've been going along. This was in a keg. It's in a keg, what, 10 days now? So it's only been conditioned in 10 days since I took it off the yeast cake out of the fermenter. It's a very hop forward beer. There's no malt profile there whatsoever. So what I'm basically scoring now is the level of Nelson Sauvin in it, and I think it's perfectly with the like body, with the levels of fizz, with the nose, and the taste. It all seems to come together, and I think I'm going to give the flavour of the wine, the tasting of the wine, of the beer. That sort of shows you where I'm at. I'm definitely liking this, and it's very similar to one of my favourite wines, but about a quarter, well, no, probably about half the ABV. So you could sit and drink a few of these with your dinner. But this would go well with like a roasted chicken, a roasted turkey, something like that. Christmas beer, you say? What would I want? Yeah, I wanted a wee bit more Savigny, so probably give it a 4 to 5. So it's 2 4s is 8. A 5 is 13, and a 3 is 16. 16 out of 20. That's pretty good. That's 2 thumbs up in anyone's language. But yeah, so that's my Brut IPA, grain to glass. I'm not going to labour the point. It's a decent beer. It is a beer kit from the Malt Miller. I would highly recommend that if you're into it, if you fancy it, you should definitely do it. It is, as I say, it's yesterday's craze today, but it's a decent drinking beer. And if you can resist, and if you can endeavour to get the carbonation ramped right up, I've set mine slightly higher than what even they suggest. I think they suggest 25 psi for a week. Mine's is sort of between 27 and 30 psi on the digital yoke, and it's definitely worth it. And I'm going to keep it on that higher pressure for a little bit longer, see if we can get just a little bit more effervescence out of it. But my goodness, that's a great beer, and it really, really drags you back in for more with that dry and finish. Anyway, guys, sláinte.